all the elemental
There's two kinds of learning that the brain does, and one kind is habitual learning. Like you have to, I'm thinking about it in terms of music, or any skill that you have to master. You have to learn how to do it. So, if you're driving a car, you have to learn how to shift, and at first there's a lot of intensive work that goes into that, and a lot of not knowing and a lot of improvisation actually, and then the body gets it, and then you can drive the car someplace. So I think it's the same way with, certainly the same way with Zen meditation practice. We put a lot of emphasis at the beginning on the form of the practice. So we teach people how to sit upright, where to feel the breath, that it's very contained. But then once the habits are mastered, then you don't have to think about them anymore. So the second kind of learning is learning to be free of habits. So you rely on them, but you don't think about them anymore.
Well, and the other side of the habit thing is that as an improviser, what we found as dancers is that we tended to repeat the same dance over and over again. So it's your time to solo, and how do you find your way out of the habitual?
You always do.
Yeah, and same thing with ourselves. So as a human being, there are these habits that are so ingrained we hardly know they're habits. But yet, how do we find a freedom with who we are? And as dancers, what we did is we saw what everyone tended to do and gave them a position that reflected their habitual place. So rather than say, well, just try to be new, it was more on the way of, well, really explore what's this place that you tend to do over and over again. And that's the approach in Zen. We're not trying to get away from something, but rather in the very middle of the stuck place, there is some incredible freedom and some new thing happening. So I go to my place where I feel alone or feel put upon, and it's like, oh God, I'm in this place again. I just hate it. And the delusion is that I know what it is. Actually, this is not the place I was in last week or the week before. So how to bring some curiosity to these places that feel so familiar. And then, of course, where we are is not where we think we are. There's something else going on here.
So a lot of the practice in music and in Zen and in dancing is about becoming aware of the unaware places. And as you were talking, I was thinking, I remember we called them koans. This was before we knew that much about Zen. A koan is usually a story or a dialogue that's used. People take them on and kind of try to get inside them to find out what the aliveness is in this particular story or dialogue, and talk to your Zen teacher about it. But we called them koans, and I still remember my koan, which was, if I had to solo, if everyone looked at Melissa, I'd immediately go up to the high notes in the keyboard. So what the group forced me to do was to start a piece there and to stay there beyond when I wanted to leave it, so that I would really get this thorough knowledge. So you could do it with a physical habit, a musical habit, a habit of the mind, a habit of the heart, a habit of anything, any stuck place. And the longer you stay, it seems to dissolve by itself. But then there's something that's learned about what's possible. Things just get bigger. So to look, there's a poem by Rumi that I really like, where he says, keep looking at the bandaged place. That's where the light enters you. And the feeling is that we would look away from the things that are habitual or painful or difficult, or where we feel stuck. But in Zen practice, and I think in the kind of improvisation we did, kept looking and looking and looking, and then it illuminates itself.